Me now is Afshin Molavi, Senior Fellow at the School for Advanced International Studies at Johns Hopkins University. A lot to unfold here. Let's just begin with this announcement today. What can really change before the next deadline? And, we've heard Donald Trump say so much, pull the U.S. out of the climate accords, do all these things, but it never actually happened. So where does this fall in all of this?
Well, they were pretty clear in that this is, I think, the third waiver that he has signed, and they were pretty clear that he's not going to be signing any more waivers come May. So come May, as one says, you kick the can down the road, there's only so much road, right? And so, what will happen at that point? Well, the United States will pull out of the deal, right? This is what they're threatening to do. And then you get into a situation where you have to actually negotiate a new deal without a deal in place. But one thing that President Trump is doing throughout this whole process is he is chilling foreign investment in Iran, right? Foreign investors are not comfortable with an environment in which the President of the United States is jawboning a deal, threatening to pull out of a deal. And as part of this deal, Iran felt that they were going to get some economic relief, something that they desperately need given the amount of protests that they're facing right now. So 4 months down the road, Iran may say that, you know what, this deal didn't deliver the goods for us. So, we're going to walk out of this deal ourselves. So there's still so many moving parts here, and it's still very complicated, as Nathan noted.
So 3 months down the road, what about right now? Yes. How is Iran reacting to this news with these additional sanctions as well? And how does that complicate matters?
The additional sanctions, can be seen as, separate from the nuclear deal. They're sanctioning organizations that were involved in ballistic missiles, organizations that were involved in cyber security, for example, shutting down the internet during protests, citing human rights abuses. In many ways, President Trump could have just ignored the nuclear deal and ratcheted up sanctions wherever he wanted to ratchet up sanctions, because he would have had a Congress that would have come along with him, and it would have had the same effect. It would have chilled foreign investment. It would have, European allies would have been, careful in dealing with Iran. But instead, by bringing the nuclear deal into this, in fact, it makes the United States look like the side that is breaking this deal apart. Whereas all we could have done is, stuck to these human rights sanctions and these sanctions against Revolutionary Guard entities.
So that being said, does the United States have any kind of leverage at all? We heard Nathan talk about Europe's stance on this. Yes. They really don't want to pull out of this deal.
No.
How does Europe react to this? And can the United States really affect change here? Well, what if they pull out?
Yeah, well, the United States does have leverage, and they have leverage because they have the ability to sway others from doing business in Iran, right? And this is what they did in the run-up to the nuclear deal, right? There were all sorts of sanctions, including secondary and tertiary sanctions, threatening companies that did business in Iran. And companies complained and they beat their chest, but guess what? They complied. Because you're dealing with a $19 trillion U.S. economy versus a $500 billion Iranian economy. So you comply. You walk with the U.S. when they tell you to do. So the United States actually does have leverage when they use it to sway other countries. But they would have actually probably had more leverage had they left this deal alone and focused on other aspects of Iran's malign activities as they see it. And this is where President Trump may have made a strategic mistake.
15 seconds left.
Yes.
How do you see this playing out?
Ultimately, we may have to get into another negotiation with Iran. And I don't think anybody wants to get involved in that.
All right. We'll have to wait and see. A lot of things happening here and changing by the day. Afshin Molavi, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.